Okay, we'll start now. Other students may join in due course. A few weeks. Uh, After that, now I have started for ethics. Uh, First, I should introduce myself because should know who I am. Uh, I am recently retired IAS officer. I worked as Special Chief Secretary, Andhra Pradesh, and uh, philosophy was one of my subjects long ago. Uh, and I feel that I got IAS because of philosophy. So I am very passionate and attached to that subject. And ethics is a part of that subject. So since already I am taking classes in philosophy, I thought that it will be more appropriate if I start for ethics also. Because one thing, it's a part of philosophy. And second is my experience also will particularly help in large number of case studies from my own experience also, and otherwise also with my knowledge, I can enrich the students who are going to appear. So with this introduction, because other things you can know, because if you Google or if you do something, you will anyway come to know who I am. So I need not tell much. Uh, so now regarding this class, what will be our format and how we'll proceed? Because this is our first introductory class. So in this class, basically, uh, my effort will be to introduce ethics uh, to all of you. What should be our strategy basically? Uh, how we should proceed about studying and uh, taking up the ethics, this thing. So we will discuss about strategy. We will discuss also uh, about previous year questions, then syllabus, and then particularly we would like to discuss how to deal with case studies. Because if you have seen the ethics paper, you will understand that uh, there are two parts. First part is, anyway, we'll in detail we will be discussing the paper, but I just want in introduction to tell there are two parts. First part is a little theoretical one, because there the questions are asked in a very theoretical and abstract manner. Second part is case studies, or roughly about six questions are there with 20 marks each. And I feel that study scoring, if you are able to crack it properly, it's quite scoring. You may get about 60 to 70% marks also in case studies paper. And in ethics, if you get about 60% marks in total, I think that can be very, very good marking. So 60 to 65% marks definitely one should attempt. And if your case studies is quite strong, you may get 70% also. So with that objective, we will proceed. So today we will have strategic part of thing. And then in the end, what I will do, I will give two questions for part A and two case studies for part B. And I would also request the students, if they can attempt and send me the PDF for evaluation, etc. That also is most welcome. Anyway, next week we will give the model answer for those two questions, and also the model answer for two case studies. What can be the answer which we write, we can score good marks. One more thing I just want to tell you, we have formed WhatsApp group, Telegram groups, and also there is a YouTube channel. Now, the Zoom sessions which we are taking up, the videos, recorded videos will be put on YouTube channels, and the PDF material, whatever I will be using for the Zoom sessions, will be put in WhatsApp group as well as in Telegram groups. So you can access from there. Uh, so with this introduction, I will now start. So first I will share some PDF material, and then we can discuss along with that. Okay, so we'll for starting, we will see what is basically syllabus of ethics paper. So if we can see, and then we will see the uh, See, this is a syllabus. Most of you might have already gone through it in very detail. So there are basically uh, about 8 topics uh, and having number of subtopics. For example, first topic is ethics and human interface. Second is attitude, then aptitude, and foundational values for civil servants, then emotional intelligence, then contributions of moral thinkers, public civil service values in ethics, probity in governance, and then case studies. So this case studies thing, this is part B, and then other come in part A. But almost, uh, they are quite interrelated. And one more thing I can tell you, even any question is asked from any part that is interrelated, that overlaps with other parts also. So it's not that, sometimes it's exclusive, but most of the time it's overlapping and interrelated. So we'll keep always this syllabus in mind, whatever we study, because to have our study in a focused manner, we have to understand that we cannot go outside the syllabus and outside the previous year questions, whichever asked, or at this format we will keep in mind always. Now, what is the question paper? Just let us understand that also. Most of you might have already seen previous year questions, analyzed that. Same thing we'll do today here also. See, the question paper is up to 150 marks. There are 2 parts. All questions are compulsory. And there are word limits. Very clear word limits are specified. In section A, there are about 13 parts. 6 questions, but having 13 parts, each 10 marks each, having a word limit of 150 words. Now, this is very, very significant and important because you have to write this 150 words in about 7 to 8 minutes, and that too, very focused and very to the point. So, it's quite tight question paper in my opinion, because writing in 7 to 8 minutes and organizing the whole thought about 150 words is quite challenging. But then a lot of practice needs to be done. Once you, uh, start doing the practice, writing, uh, having practice tests on your own, as well as if you join some practice tests, then at least you will be able to know. And then uh, if you see, there is part B. Now, part B again is, quite challenging part, because even if you have to answer in about 250 words, you have to at least read also about 300 to 350 words. So after reading that, understanding that, and then applying a lot of uh, ethical theories, a number of ethical theories, etc., and then you have to reply. So this is also, so what I want to say, in my opinion, in 3 hours attempting this is quite challenging task. But if you organize yourself well, if you practice well, definitely you will be able to do that. So this question paper and basically format of question paper and the syllabus, we will always keep in mind whenever we discuss anything in ethics. Now, what is basically strategy? What should be our strategy for this ethics paper? See, first thing we should understand is how, uh, what is the syllabus or what is the analysis of syllabus, and then previous year questions. Because I have already shown you the syllabus, I have already shown you 1 year question paper, but then at least 10 to 12 years question papers we should analyze. In fact, this was introduced in 2013. So anyway, we will be having about 11 years question paper, but at least 10 years question paper we should analyze, and we should understand what is being asked and what is the format of question, how it is changing also over the years. All those things we should understand. So if we see, basically we have to go topic by topic. We have to also understand what are the subtopics within the topic, because sometimes some few subtopics are more important, few are less important. So that all those things we will understand in due course. So decoding the syllabus and previous year question papers is very important. So we are having separate a few pages also for syllabus decoding and previous year question paper analysis. That also we'll do. But then out of, after analyzing this, we have to identify what are more important topics, or if we have to read all, what should be our strategy. So all those things now we should do. Now, what are the books, recommended books? I mean, some are essential books, some are uh, supplementary books. So, see, these 4 or 5 books are there. Basically, we should go through. Besides, definitely having some mentors, coaching classes, and other things. But these are basic books. So therefore, we should go through these books. And if you are a philosophy student, if you are you want to go a little more deep, because going deep sometimes is very risky in civil services exam, because then I mean you are flooded with knowledge, flooded with information, but then you are not able to use. I mean, for most of the students that happens actually. They feel sometimes that uh, this information is also good, that information, this coaching, that coaching, but then sometimes you are so overwhelmed, so overburdened that you are not able to organize yourself, you are not able to use. So, in my opinion, in my suggestion, you should have to the point, focused, limited information, and study in such a manner that you are able to present yourself well in the exam. So, these are basic books you can go through, and then you can practice this thing. Now, supplementary books are not, I mean, basically newspapers. Why newspapers? Because current affairs are important in ethics. Because sometimes case studies are basically tuned to current affairs. So, I mean, and some questions also in part A are tuned to current affairs. So if we keep an eye, it is going to help for other GS papers also, but our interview also, but then for ethics also to some extent. So anyway, newspapers you will be reading, whosoever is a serious student, newspapers, Yojana, Kurukshetra, etc. And PIB websites, why we are telling that, I mean, government decisions are, etc., of different ministries keep on being announced on that. So that is authentic government website. So that also you can keep a track. Now, what are basically uh, focus areas in each topic? Now, let us understand that. I mean, in brief, you will understand here, and then subsequently, when we analyze the syllabus and PYQs in little more detail, they are also able. So, ethics and human interface. Here, basically, essence, determinants, consequences, and dimensions. So, when we, I mean, in next few weeks, definitely we are going to cover these chapters, maybe a little more fast manner we will be covering, because I hope, I mean, I expect that students are already doing self-study. So our study will be a little more concentrated, little more focused, and little fast. So we will be more focusing on model answers to the questions, or model answers to the uh, case studies. Because I mean, that kind of practice. So basically, if we have a session of about 1 hour or 1 hour 20 minutes or 15 minutes, about half of the time we will devote for uh, model answers and case studies, and half of the time we will devote for the concepts and some concepts which are useful for case studies as well. So this you should keep in mind, because why I'm telling this in beforehand, because you should not feel that I'm going to cover 100% of syllabus. Definitely, I will try to help you, particularly in how to write good answers, or how to answer case studies, or how to handle case studies, even complex case studies in a better manner. But then your self-study and self-practice is very, very important. So the focus areas, as I told in first, ethics and human face, then similarly attitude and aptitude. Uh, what is the structure, what is function, influence on behavior, social persuasion techniques, etc. These are important topics in subtopics in that. Emotional intelligence is very important actually chapter, because uh, number of questions are coming, and we will see also how questions are being repeated in that in subsequent pages. So concept, significance, management, application in administration, etc. is quite important. Then moral thinkers. Moral thinkers, in fact, are applicable for other topics also, but then for this topics also, uh, uh, case studies, and for all other topics also, they are equally important. So Indian moral thinkers important are Gandhi, Buddha, Vivekanand. Western thinkers, Kant, Aristotle, Mill. Recently, I was seeing a question of Dalai Lama, and then question was of Jyotiba Phule. So basically, Even though these are important thinkers, but then questions sometimes come out of this also. So uh, it may be Ambedkar, it may be Jyotiba Phule, it may be Vivekanand, it may be Raja Ram Mohan Rai, it may be Western philosophy. If you see Socrates, Kant, Aristotle, Mill, so all these philosophers are quite important because they basically have given various ethical theories, which will in due course we will understand that also. Then ethics in public administration, this is another chapter. Impartiality, objectivity, dedication, neutrality, empathy, all these are very important values for any civil servant, any public servant. Then probity in governance, basically corruption, transparency, how it is maintained, and what are the mechanisms for maintaining that. For example, RTI is there, Whistleblowing Act is there, citizen charters are there, Lokpal is there. So all these things we can study in due course. Another suggestion, uh, see, for all these keywords you should have some dedicated notes, brief notes, because sometimes if you have that in mind, you can at least, even if you are not well prepared, you can write something in the exam. So you should have dedicated uh, notes pertaining to each keyword, with relevant example, with philosophers, with real world examples, applications. Because see, in any ethical or ethics question paper, examiner is definitely interested, along with the theories, ethical theories and philosophers' views, the real world applications also. Because this is a more kind of a practical kind of exam where practical theories are, I mean, basically theories how they are applied in practical life or in life of a civil servant, they are more interested, I mean, that will make your answers more effective and more marks fetching. uh, you have to also update, I mean, newspapers and editorials, etc. Once you go through, and if you find something regarding ethics paper or related to ethics, you can uh, again update your whatever the notebook or you have created or the notes which you have created. uh, you have to integrate uh, case studies and theory preparation together. It cannot go separately because most of the time, in fact, both are quite interrelated. And I will say another thing, not only case studies and theory, but one question of theory paper is related to other topic also. So that also we should understand. So uh, case studies, detail analysis will subsequently also will be seeing how to analyze in detail. So I'm not going here in detail, but here only one point that you have to study in a very integrated manner. So then only you will be successful. Because separately studying, because anyway separately you cannot study. For every case study, you have to apply some or the other ethical theory, some are the other evaluation points which are already covered in the previous, I mean, part A of the uh, syllabus and question paper. Uh, Now, what should be your answer writing strategy? See, structuring answers, introduction, because in 150 words or 250 words, writing introduction is very, very difficult. Because if you waste a number of words in introduction, definitely your answer is going to suffer. So it has to be very, very crisp. That you should know, because maybe one line or maximum two lines if 250 words are there. Otherwise, one line is sufficient. Or sometimes no introduction is also is as good, because directly approaching the question is also very good, because here word limits are very less, so you don't waste much in introduction. Then core definitely means the body, that is important. And then your conclusive remark has to be, definitely, if you are writing ethics paper, so you cannot be, I mean, having some negative conclusion. You have to be positive, you have to be uh, forward looking, and you have to also some application or some example or something, if you can write, that will be good. I don't know whether diagrams, etc., are possible in this, because it's difficult. Because wherever, suppose some one question comes, for example, distinguish between something. So continuously practice 7 to 8 minutes for 10 marks question and 15 minutes for 20 marks question. 20 marks question means case study I'm talking. So definitely practice. I mean, without practice, you cannot be perfect. So you have to have a real situation where you practice it, and then try to improve upon writing skills. You have tried to understand how to take up the questions, because 7 to 8 minutes you have to write, at least 2 minutes you have to take to organize your answer. So basically, you will get the time for 4-5 minutes only. Similarly, for a 15 minutes question, 2-3 minutes, if you take on organizing a question or how you will write it, then at least 12 to 30 minutes you can get. So for that also, if that kind of practice is not there, you will not be able to do. So practice is, repeatedly I'm recommending, please do that. Maybe short test, maybe full test, maybe suppose one case study you are attempting. So if case study is, you have to attempt in 15 minutes, then you should see that one case study 15 minutes. Or suppose one question you are attempting of 150 words. So you should see that in real test time, 7 to 8 minutes, you should complete the answer. So that kind of practice. So even if it's not full test you are doing or half test you are doing, at least even one or two questions you are attempting, you accordingly you divide the time and practice. I'm sure if you do that, definitely uh, you will improve continuously. So practice is important. Current affairs integration, I have already told, because sometimes the questions are related to current affairs where ethics is there, or sometimes case studies are related. And the topics can be corruption, RTI, effectiveness, administrative reforms, trade issues, uh, then ethical dilemmas, whistleblower protection, bureaucratic accountability, transparency initiative, US trade sanctions. So all those things, we have to keep in mind, and what are the ethical points involved in that. So all those things we have to understand, and then accordingly we have to prepare ourselves. Uh, pre-exam revision is very important, because sometimes we have so much material available with us. I have already told that we are so confused that before exam we are not able to prepare properly. So actually, if I have to say, see, there has to be 2-3 preparation schedules and strategies for any candidate or any student. For 3 months, you should have, because after prelims you will get about 3 months time. So for 3 months, there should be one strategy. For 1 month before, there has to be some other brief thing prepared. And then about 1 week before that, you have to understand. On the day of exam also, or one day before exam also, if you have a gap, there has to be another strategy. Accordingly, you have to have different kinds of concise notes also. First notes can be little more detailed, then little more concise notes, and then finally maybe last day of the exam you should have not more than 10-12 pages, or maybe 20-30 pages to revise. So if that way you prepare your notes while preparing itself, that will help your revision very well, because you have to uh, organize yourself well. Basically, organizing while preparations are also very, very important. So please do like that. Uh, Do's and don'ts, I have written few, which is not that, because all of you know also, because unless you integrated approach, same thing which earlier I have told, same thing are there. Then uh, see, overly theoretical, when this I'm repeating, because sometimes we feel that whatever we know is more important. Let us not understand that, because sometimes uh, basically we have to focus what is asked and how we have to deal with that question, and more we have to deal in practical manner. So being overly theoretical or generic answers or highly philosophical answers are not going to help much. Even though I'm a student of philosophy, still I don't recommend that. So you have to be very practical in your approach. You have to be student like or officer like in your approach. So that is what is required in ethics paper. So, but still, definitely you have to use a few words, a few terms, a few phrases which are very important as far as ethics is concerned. So it's not that you can be very simplistic also, but then it cannot be that you are writing everything in a very philosophical manner. That also is not going to help. Now, after that, let us see if we uh, syllabus analysis in detail, because this is this strategy I have told. Now, what is syllabus and how we want to proceed for the syllabus? So, see, first topic is, as we know, ethics and human interface. In this, I have identified a few keywords. Now, these keywords. One more thing I can tell you: all this PDF material will be tomorrow. It will be put in the WhatsApp and the Telegram group, so you can access from there. So you need not make any notes, etc. for this. I'm just for explaining and just for being focused. I'm keeping all these things because talking unnecessarily uh, here and there is not going to help. Our study needs to be very focused. So therefore, what points we are talking, what points we are discussing, what points are important that we should understand. So now keywords we have identified. Now after identifying the keywords, we have to analyze and then we have to see which book or which part we have to study. So first keywords and then analysis of this keyword. Then, I mean, similarly, then for who are the philosophers related to this? Because ethics and human interface, because every chapter there will be some philosophers or some philosophies or some ethical theories which will be related. So this uh, is given there. Then what are the previous year questions which are related to this chapter? Because if you see 2015 to 2024, last 10 years I've been gone through. Every year, some or the other question has been asked. So, and this we will see for other chapters also. So definitely we have to cover almost whole of the syllabus. I mean, we cannot say that one part is more important, other part is less important. Every part is important, so every part needs to be covered. Yes, again, I'm repeating, case studies portion, in my opinion, is more scoring. So we have to be little more careful while practicing, while understanding, while answering in the exam also. The case studies thing, because there you have, you can fetch very good marks. In fact, 20 marks you can get as high as even 14, 15 marks also if everything is correctly attempted. So similarly, if we come to attitude, then again, same thing, what are keywords? What is the analysis of these keywords? And then what are the QIQs also for this? So the, for all these chapters, I have done it. So accordingly, we can analyze and then we can focus our studies. So I'm not going further in this detail because this I will be putting anyway. And this is uh, same thing, uh, same pattern repeated for all the chapters. Now, case studies particularly I will come because see, case studies in detail also there is another uh, 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 3-4 pages I have put, but here also it's quite important. See, for case studies, what are the keywords? Ethical dilemmas, conflict of interest, public and private values, and role of conscience. What should be our strategy for case study? Identify stakeholders, describe ethical issues, list possible options, evaluate each option with ethical principles, recommend most justified ethical course of action, conclude philosophical or constitutional grounding. So these 6 steps are very important for any case study. Now, there are a number of ethical tools. In fact, I have identified about 30 ethical tools, which I will be just, giving a list in this session, and subsequent sessions we will be describing each tool by tool, how, what is meant by what and how we can apply it to various case studies. But there are about 30 ethical tools which are very important from case study point of view. Now, few I put here in this page, and few are mentioned in subsequent pages. So see, there are basically 3 kinds of ethical tools. One is the tools basically used to analyze the question itself. So it will not provide you the answer, but definitely it will analyze or break the question. So that is one. Then there are second, general ethical principles, which will, basically provide you some answer, which ethical principle, if applied to that scenario, what answer will come. And then third is that case study specific some ethical principles. For example, if a case study pertains to environment, then there is environment ethics. If a case study pertains to some business, there is a corporate ethics. If case study pertains to some medical issue, then there is a medical ethics. So these are particularly applicable to that particular scenario or that particular situation. But then there are certain general ethical principles. For example, Kant's deontology or virtue ethics or basically utilitarianism. So all these things are universal principles of ethics for evaluation of case studies. So first, there are some case tools which analyze the question. Then there are some general principles which can be applicable. And third, there are some scenario-specific ethical principles which can be applicable. So now this Gandhian talisman falls in general ethical principle which can be applied. And this is only one thing. Gandhi's statement. He gave a statement that whenever you are in problem or whenever you are in any confusion or doubt, please remember the poorest person whom you have seen, and if your decision is going to help him, you decide that way. So this is what Gandhi told. So recall the face of the poorest and the weakest man whom you have seen and ask yourself if the step you contemplate is going to be of any use to him. Will he gain anything by it? Will it restore him any control? So then you will find your doubts and yourself melt away. So this is what Gandhi's talisman. I mean, this is basically one formula Gandhi has given to resolve any dilemma or any ethical dilemma particularly. So this is, then there is Kidder's dilemma paradigm. Now Kidder's dilemma paradigm and Potter's box model. These two are basically tools to analyze the question, because these tools will not provide you answer, but they will break the question basically. So what are these? We will study definitely in detail in subsequent classes also and subsequent chapters. But here, just in brief, I want to tell you, see, Kidder was basically US ethical philosopher. He identified 4 common paradigms where most true ethical dilemmas occur. He said that most of the ethical dilemmas are not between right and wrong, because right and wrong, if it is there, then anybody can very easily say, okay, wrong is rejected and right we will select. He says that most of the ethical dilemmas, real dilemmas, are between right and right, right versus right. So what are right versus right? Either way, I mean, there is some theory justifying one option, some theory justifying other option. For example, truth versus loyalty. Some theory will justify truth, some theory will say no, loyalty is more important. Then individual versus community. Some decision may benefit individual, some decision may benefit community. Then short term, long term, justice, mercy. So these examples he has given. There are basically, these dilemmas are right versus right, and these are the examples where either way you can say that this was right. And there will be some or the other ethical theory to support your either of the decisions. Similarly, Potter box model. He also says, he basically provided a 4-step model that helps individuals make ethically sound decision. It's a value neutral model. This model does not basically explain which decision you should take, but it simply gives you a process and procedure for taking the decision. So it guides in a very structured manner what decision can be taken. So what he says, first you go to the facts of the case, then values which are in conflict, then you identify the values which are in conflict, then ethical principles which apply, and then loyalties to which stakeholder is attached. So basically, if you remember here what we have described, this is more or less a Potter's box model only. Potter was again a Harvard school professor, and he has given this model. You have to analyze the ethical dilemma in this way. First, you go through facts, then values involved, then ethical principles which apply, then loyalties to which stakeholder, and then finally you take a decision after justification. So whatever we have told here, the 6 steps, mostly it's based on Potter's box model. Now, Case studies also I have listed different years, number of case studies. I mean, every year almost 6 case studies they are giving. So, but important case studies just I have put year wise here. Then again, if you uh, some preparation tips. Prepare short notes for each keyword in syllabus. This will be very useful, particularly last month of your preparation, because then you can go through that and at least to that extent you can remember. Then you can prepare value pyramids and mind maps. To some extent, value pyramids may help you to uh, 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 basically deciding the conflict questions and policy evaluation. Mind maps may be useful for introduction and conclusion of answers. So for example, government value pyramids has been given. For example, personal moral values, then professional institutional values, then public service values, and finally constitutional values. So basically, all this should lead to constitutional values, that is justice, equality, and liberty. This should be final goal. So if you pyramid, I mean, whatever is up on the top of the pyramid needs to be basically should become the objective, and it should be achieved through these values, whether it is personal values or professional values or public service values. All these should aid to achieve the constitutional or ethical ideals. Similarly, mind maps regarding moral thinkers, if you can prepare, I mean, this is a brief example has been given, but you can prepare well. For example, Indian thinkers, Western thinkers. Then Indian, what Buddha says, what Gandhi says, what Vivekanand, what Ambedkar. Then Kant, Mill, Rawls, all these you can prepare for Western philosophy. So these are examples, but these will be very helpful, at least for revising. And so similarly, I mean, a number of mind maps and this pyramids, value pyramids you can prepare. Another suggestion is real life examples. Definitely some real life examples I will be also giving in some of my subsequent lectures. Practice 2 case studies per week. My target is also that if you are involved with me, at least 2 case studies per week. Along with me, only you can practice because this at least I will do 2 case studies per week and 2 2 questions, model questions, also model answers per week. So this is what I'm thinking we will at least do in subsequent few weeks till the time we are involved with each other. Include philosophical references also. Yes, that this is good, because once you study, definitely you can do that. Now, what is PYQ analysis? Let us see that. Paper structure, already we have seen there are 2 parts, 130, 120 marks. Topic-wise trends, roughly, if you see, because this PYQ analysis for 10 years after doing, this conclusion has come that ethics and human interface, consistently 1 to 4 questions. Then attitude and emotional intelligence appear intermittently. Moral thinkers, 2-3 questions per year. Then public service, civil service values and ethics in public administration, frequently tested. This is also. So case studies predominantly focus on dilemmas in public administration. This we know already. Now, what is trend? Recent trends. What are recent trends? This is quite important. Now, shift towards application and increasing emphasis on application, ethical concepts to practical situations, especially in case studies. So this already I have told, because of that only suggestion is that you keep an eye on newspapers, the current events. Anyway, GS other papers you will be, I mean, those events will be important for those papers also. But if there is ethical aspect involved, for example, one example I give, this trade sanctions, US trade sanctions. Definitely, I mean, there are, it's important from the point of view of other GS papers, but from ethical perspective also, there is ethical point involved. So that also, I mean, similarly other current affairs also. So integration of current affairs, again, same thing. Then another point is complexity in case study. Case studies have become more intricate, more demanding, and I mean, because I've gone through some previous year papers. See, recent years, I mean, earlier it was that only one ethical theory will apply, and then it's easy to solve the case study. But now multiple ethical theories are being applied, and then also whatever solution is coming, uh, at least for some, it may not appear appropriate. So, I mean, that kind of little difficult case studies, I will say, little complex case studies are coming up, a few at least out of six. Uh, then, what should be our strategy? Understand the syllabus thoroughly. We should understand conceptual clarity, because once we study properly, once we take proper coaching, most of you might have already joined some or the other coaching. Then, if read our books, etc., properly, conceptual clarity will come. Incorporate philosophical perspective, and then stay updated with current ethical issues. So current affairs, I'm not saying current affairs directly, but current ethical issues, because current affairs will help you in other GS papers, but uh, current ethical issues. Uh, then uh, master your answer writing skill. There is no substitute for continuous practice. Uh, Again, real life examples are very important. This because in every answer you have to try to accommodate real life examples, because that gives the examiner that you have understood the whole theory also properly. Uh, Maintaining logical flow, introduction, body, and conclusion is important. I will again caution you, introduction and conclusion are little this thing, because if you have some word limit scope, then only you go for that, and otherwise you have to reduce that in a very, very minimal words, and then you have to mainly focus on the uh, actual answer. Case studies, already we have studied same thing. I mean, there are 6 steps involved. Uh, Practice regularly. There is I'm repeating same thing, because unless you practice, you will not be able to. And particularly, again, I will tell you, even one question you are writing, one answer, you see that time limit is not crossed. Practice doesn't mean that whole question paper you practice. Even 2 questions you are writing, you see that if 10 marks question is there, 7 minutes. If 20 marks question is there, 14 or 15 minutes. That should not be crossed. So like that, if you practice, definitely the books already, it was recommended earlier also, same thing is again coming up here. And now we'll come to how to deal with case studies, because in my this thing, case studies will be quite important, and every week we will be solving 2 case studies. So we will go in little more detail, and I was telling that there are at least uh, 25 to 30 theories, which are ethical theories, which are applicable for various case studies. So here I am just giving a list. I'm not describing in detail, because in subsequent weeks we will be taking up 3-4 case studies each week, and we'll try to describe. But without waiting for our syllabus to start in full force, we will, from this week or from next week itself, we will start solving at least 2 case studies and 2 questions every week. So here, what should be our strategy for case study? Already we have discussed there are 6 steps. So now those 6 steps are little in detail more described in little more detail. See, first thing you have to do is identify the stakeholders. Now, stakeholders may be individuals, maybe groups, maybe institutions, or even future generations, because wherever environmental case study is there, future generations are also stakeholders. Then their stakeholders may be direct stakeholders or indirect stakeholders. So this analysis is also important. So first thing is we have to identify the stakeholders. Now, second is, what are the ethical issues involved? What is the ethical dilemmas involved in that? So clearly outline the ethical dilemmas, identify the value conflicts. For example, whether it's honesty versus compassion, or whether loyalty versus public interest, or whether individual versus community, or whether short term versus long term. As Kidder's dilemma, we know, we have already seen that. So identify that. Then frame the issue using ethical vocabulary. For example, conflict of interest, transparency, integrity. So we have to frame the ethical issue. So we have to describe and identify and describe core ethical issues, identify, I mean, in the case study. Then enumerate possible course of action. What are the possible options available for you? So lay out viable alternatives, including the alternatives can be unconventional or creative options also. We should not only feel that some only set pattern or whatever has been earlier done, that only should be there. It can be some other option also, which is very creative, new option, innovative option also. Then evaluate each option using ethical principles. So definitely, once you have, suppose, let us say in any case study, you have 3 options or 4 options. Now, each option you have to evaluate. There are different ethical principles for evaluation. You have to consider that and evaluate. Then recommend most ethical, justifiable course of action. And conclude with philosophical and constitutional grounding. So this is what our 6 steps involved for any case study, this thing. Now, what are the ethical tools available for us? Let us understand that. Here I am giving a list of about maybe 27, 28 or about 30 tools, which in detail, if you have some book, please go through that. If you can go through on your own. And anyway, in subsequent weeks, we will be taking up this also. So, as I told earlier, there are 3 kinds of tools available for us. First one is framework for analyzing case studies. See, this I am putting in part A. And this is first is Kidder's ethical dilemma. So already I have told that R.M. Kidder, he was basically US ethical uh, scholar. He has given that the dilemma cannot be between right and wrong. It can be, I mean, most of the ethical dilemmas are between right and right. So, for example, truth versus loyalty, individual versus community, short-term, long-term, justice versus mercy, or so these kind of both the options are correct. Then second is Potter box model. So these two basically are framework for analyzing case study. They basically give you a tool for dissecting the case study and writing it in a correct format so that you can identify, you can go for other 6 steps which we are studying. So Potter box model, already told, it gives you a what steps you have to do that. For example, facts you have to identify, then values, then principles, then loyalties, and these 4 will help you in structure your decision making. So this is a value neutral thing. They basically Potter or Kidder, they are not suggesting which decision you should take, but they are simply saying that these intricacies are involved in case studies, so you should be careful. Now, what are the ethical tools available for? B part, I have put ethical tools available for evaluation of your options. Suppose after analyzing the question, you come up with 4 options. Now, which option is what? Are they're justified or not? Then some or the other ethical theory has to be applied. So, what are the such ethical tools? One Gandhian talisman or Gandhian tabiz or jantar or all anything you can say. So that I've already told. Again, I'm repeating. Recall the face of the poorest and weakest person. Will your decision benefit them? So this Gandhi's statement is a test for public welfare and compassion. So this helps poorest of the poor. His philosophy of Antyodaya, basically, all of us might have already studied that. So knowing that. So basically, Gandhian talisman is one important ethical tool. Then second is consequentialism. And main theory of consequentialism is utilitarianism. And this was advanced by Bentham and Mill. So this basically says that greatest benefit of or maximum benefit of maximum number of people. So basically this is outcome based. So any theory or any decision is good if it benefits maximum number of people or maximum benefit to maximum number of people. So this is outcome based theory. Therefore, it is called consequentialism. Now, this is, I have told Mill and Bentham, greatest good of greatest number. Third is deontological ethics. This is Kant's theory. And what Kant told, rightness of action lies in adherence to duty or rules, regardless of outcomes. So if speaking truth is the duty. You speak truth irrespective of whether you will fail or in that effort or whether you are successful, it hardly matters. So basically, this is a duty-based theory, and Kant has given theory of categorical imperatives, which says that act only on that maxim which you can will to become a universal law. So, for example, if you say that honesty is should be made universal law, then you stick to honesty. So, accordingly, this is duty-based, this thing, deontological theory of Kant. Then virtue ethics. Virtue ethics was basically main thinker is Aristotle. He has given a theory. What sort of person should I be? You think that, and then accordingly you behave. And it focuses on moral character and virtues like honesty, courage, and integrity. So all these theories, what I am telling in brief today, we'll be describing subsequent classes. We will take 3-4 theories every week, and we'll try to explain that so that you can understand little more detail and you can try to apply more properly to the case studies. Then fifth is ethics of care. Now, the key thinker for this is Carol Gilligan. Now, they emphasize empathy, compassion, and relationship over abstract rules. Basically, Gilligan was again gender sensitive ethics. She promoted gender sensitive ethics or interpersonal dilemmas. Then sixth is justice-based theory. Now, justice-based theory is basically, again, key thinker is John Rawls. And what justice-based theory says, ensure fairness, equality, and procedural justice. And he gave a theory of veil of ignorance. Just veil of ignorance means you don't know for whom you are making the decision. There is a veil of ignorance for your decision. So this ensures impartiality. So justice requires impartiality. So this is what is justice-based theory. Then seventh is Indian ethical frameworks. Now, Indian ethical frameworks, as you know, India is also very ethically rich, having different philosophies are there. And if you see briefly, if you say, what are the concepts? Dharma, ahimsa, niskam karma, then aparigraha, then karuna, satya, swadharma. So all this is coming from different Indian philosophers, philosophy, or different religions available in India. So, for example, dharma, that is duty, niskam karma, comes from Bhagavad Gita. Then ahimsa, non-violence, truth, satyagraha comes from Mahatma Gandhi. Then Buddhist ethics, they gave the middle path and eightfold path theory. Then there is Jaina ethics, that is aparigraha and anekantvad. Anekantvad is basically pluralism. So this again, and aparigraha is non-possessiveness. So basically Indian and some of the Indian, for example, if you have seen this deontological Kant duty based, this this sometimes resonates with Gita, what Bhagavad Gita says. So niskam karma is basically deontology in a way, because here also you have to do your duty irrespective of what you are going to achieve. Gita also says you do your duty, whether you are successful or not. Don't think about fruit. You have to do your duty. So what I want to say is Indian ethical theories also sometimes compare with Western ethical theories. So if you are writing some Western ethical theory, for example, wherever you are mentioning deontology of Kant, you have to also write a similar thing Gita also says, and Indian ethical theories are also equally applicable there. Now, then another eighth one is contractualism. Now, contractualism was main thinkers were Hobbes, Locke, and Rousseau. Now, what has happened? What in contractualism says that morality arises from mutual agreement or social contract. If there is a social contract, I'm following that is a morality. Then right-based theories. Right-based theories means if individual rights are mentioned, individual liberties are mentioned, there needs to be adhered to. So individual rights and individual liberties are primary moral claims. And Locke and Dworkin are again two important thinkers promoting that. Then pragmatic ethics, that morality evolves with society practical problem solving over fixed doctrine. So what pragmatic ethics says, that if some option is solving the problem, or it is practically useful, then we have to go for that. Main thinker is John Dewey. Then moral relativism and moral absolutism. What is relativism? That morality depends on culture or context. So whatever can be moral in India, same thing may not be moral in US. So basically it depends on, but then there is another absolutism, moral absolutism. They say no, certain moral standards are universally valid. So this is there. Then now, as I told, there are third part, case study specific additional ethical tools. In addition to core ethical tools, several domain specific ethical frameworks are also there, which will help in resolving the ethical dilemma. Now, first in this is environmental ethics. So wherever question of environment is referred or case study pertaining to environment is referred, there environmental ethics is also important. What are key ethical principles? Sustainable development, intergenerational equity, then intrinsic value of nature, precautionary principle, polluter pays principle. Then similarly, media ethics. Wherever a case study related to media comes, their media ethics has to be mentioned. What is the key ethical principles of media ethics? Truth and objectivity they should maintain. Then public interest versus sensationalism. Then right to information versus right to privacy. Then accountability and editorial responsibility. Then paid news and yellow journalism. So all these ethical principles will come wherever media, case study is coming. Similarly, there is social media. Social media case studies. Social media ethics involves responsible and respectable behavior on social media platforms. And this key ethical issues are invasion of privacy, cyberbullying, trolling, and hate speech, disinformation and echo chambers, anonymity versus accountability, behavioral targeting, ethics of surveillance capitalism. Shoshana Zuboff was again a US scholar. She has given a theory of surveillance capitalism. So all these things will be, studying in detail in subsequent weeks. But this is what in social media ethics, we mean key issues involved, key ethics in. Then bioethics, a broader ethical bioethics is basically relates to biological sciences, medical technology, and life sciences. So wherever case studies comes related to this, their bioethics will be applicable also, along with general ethical principles. And the scope of this bioethics is genetic engineering, euthanasia and assisted dying, then artificial reproduction, that is IVF, surrogacy, etc., organ transplantation, environmental bioethics, clinical trials and drug testing, AI in health culture and health data ethics. Then medical ethics. This is basically subset of bioethics. Bioethics we have we have seen bioethics. Now this medical ethics is subset, and medical ethics and another biotechnology ethics. Basically, these two are a subset of bioethics. So here, medical ethics governs moral conduct in medical practice and health care delivery, balancing care with rights. So here, basically, there are core ethical principles, 4 core ethical principles, and autonomy, beneficence, non-maleficence, and justice. So these are 4 core ethical principles for medical ethics. Indian reference Medical Council of India has also given code of ethics for the medical profession. So this also is important. We can quote this also. Biotechnology ethics, this is another subset of bioethics. And this is more related with genetic engineering, cloning, stem cell research, AI in health, etc. And key ethical concepts are dignity of human life, informed consent and genetic privacy, risk to natural biodiversity, playing God, moral boundaries of scientific intervention, designer babies with genetic modifications, etc., biotechnology in agriculture, that is genetically modified crops. Then there is another corporate ethics. If any A case study comes with where business, corporate, etc. are involved. Corporate ethics are also called business ethics, refers to moral principles that guide behavior in the world of business and commerce. So this is also again important. Ratan Tata's statement: ethics is the new competitive age. Now, ethics in private and public relationship. This is another, if any case study comes up, private and public relationship, this also we need to mention. What are the key ethical elements? Consistency in character, conflict of interest, transparency versus confidentiality, role morality, then nepotism and cronyism, favoritism in transfers, appointments, procurement, etc. Then another is constitutional morality. What is constitutional morality? Refers to moral values and principles embedded in the constitution that guide functioning of institutions and also behavior of citizens and public officials. And uh, mostly it is justice, liberty, equality, fraternity, and rule of law, etc. Now, Ambedkar's statement that means to achieve a moral society through constitutional method. So constitutional morality he described as means to achieve a moral society through constitutional method. This is Ambedkar's statement. Sometimes these statements also may come to elaborate in part A of the question, that also we should know. Then 10th is foundational values of civil services. What are main foundational values of civil services? So if somewhere, I mean, basically your behavior of civil service or civil servant is in some case studies mentioned along with general ethical theories, this also will be applicable. What are core ethical values? Now, this is also mentioned in second ARC, Administrative Reform Commission report, and Nolan Committee recommendation. Nolan Committee is basically UK's Lord Nolan was there. He was heading a committee on ethics, and he has given certain recommendations. So Nolan Committee, I was seeing a question recently also, it was asked regarding Nolan Committee. So this is also quite important. So these are core ethical values of a civil servant: integrity, impartiality, objectivity, empathy, dedication to public service, accountability. And what are philosophical inspirations in this? Gandhi, Santyodaya, and Sarvodaya. So this is two theories which Gandhi gave. Then Max Weber, ethics of responsibility in bureaucracy. Then another specified ethics is military ethics. Wherever uh, any case study comes of military or something like that, I mean war or military, then this ethics specifically also will be applied. Military ethics refers to moral principles and values that guide the conduct of armed forces both in combat and in peacetime. So not only in war, but in peacetime also. It encompasses decisions about the use of force, obedience to orders, treatment of non-combatants, and personal conduct in war and service. So this is basically military ethics. War ethics is a little different from military ethics because military ethics is both peace and war time. War ethics is also known just war theory, refers to ethical principles that determine whether it is morally right to go for war, what conduct is permissible during war, or what responsibility exists after war. So basically, this deals with balancing national interest, human rights, global justice in conflict situation. So after that, war ethics, then there is another social ethics. Social ethics refers to branch of ethics that deals with moral values and principles guiding human conduct within society. So this is social ethics. Then ethics in international relations. This is important because current affairs, you know, international relations are quite strained. So this ethical branch or sub branch of ethics is quite important. Refers to the application of moral principles and values such as justice, human rights, equity, and non-aggression to the conduct of states, diplomats, and international institutions in the global arena. Then, I mean, basically, this international ethics uh, governs the behavior of nation states, diplomatic interactions, foreign policy decisions, and this will also include trade war, etc. also. Now, these are basically roughly about 27 theories, different theories we have discussed in very brief, just a listing basically I can say. So This we have to apply case by case wherever it is applicable. In some, 3, 4 theories are applicable. In some, maybe little lesser will be applicable. So we have to keep an eye on that while dealing with case studies. Uh, Basically, conclusion, domain is, I mean, basically these 14 case studies which are domain specific. I will say that this will help you in contextualizing the answers of case studies with great precision, because general case studies anyway will tell you the main reply, but if you refer this also, you will be writing something additional, and this will also make that examiner is impressed with your answer, because this may be use of this will be definitely attracting the attention of the examiner. Now, what is final tip? Use case specific language, apply ethical frameworks aptly, avoid mechanical or robotic response, strive for balance between philosophical depth and administrative practicality and human sensitivity. So this is very important. So, see, we should not feel that since it is ethics paper, so let us write all philosophy, all ethics in that. No, we have to have a very, very practical approach. Since beginning I am telling, so please keep in mind always that we have to keep a practical approach. We have to quote the examples from real life, maybe some very successful civil servants which you might have read, you might have known, or in due course we'll also discuss. You have to mention that. And then uh, otherwise also how these theories can be practically implemented, that things you have to mention. Now, with this, today's the thing is over. But what I am doing is these questions I am putting it for all of you, uh, for which model answers we will be giving next week. So, two questions. I will just read the questions out. Question number one: what do you understand by moral courage? How is it different from physical courage? Illustrate with an example. 150 words. You have to write answer. Uh, Question 2: integrity is considered the foundation of public service. Explain the concept of integrity and illustrate how it influences decision making in public administration. Again, 150 words. So these two questions for part A of the paper. Uh, then two case studies I have given. Now, first case study is basically regarding vaccination program. So this you can read it, and then because I'm not going to read. Second case study is again regarding whistleblowing. So these two case studies are quite good case studies. So uh, you have to think over, go through, and if any candidate is interested, may send their answers PDF for evaluation and further discussion on this email. So for all these two case studies and two questions. Now, model answers to above questions will be discussed and provided in next week's Zoom session. So what next week, what we will do? First, we will discuss these questions and case studies, model answers, and then we'll take up some topic from the part A, and then we will take some ethical theories for case studies. So like that, we will proceed. And then again, we will have two questions and two case studies for next week also, for which model answers we will give next to next week. So like that, we will continue like that. Now, another thing which I I feel that which I should do is uh, because anyway, uh, this case studies and questions I will be discussing here, but some extra case studies, important case studies, and some model answers I will be also putting on YouTube. Maybe every week, some more, two case studies and two questions, model questions, I will be also putting on YouTube. So if you are interested in knowing additional case studies or going through additional model answers, you can uh, um, uh, join the YouTube channel and you can see there also. So with this, I have completed. Now, if anybody wants to say anything, otherwise, we'll close today's session. And as I posted in the WhatsApp group also, if anybody at any point of time wants to communicate with me, mail ID is there. You can send your mail. I will try to reply to that person. And then Because in WhatsApp group and Telegram groups, we are not giving for communication. Otherwise, it will be cluttered. Everybody wants to say something and they start saying. So it's always better that we should have some structured way of communication. The structured way is you communicate with, if you want to say on mail or every Zoom session, last, I definitely ask if somebody wants to say something. So if you want to say something, you can add. Otherwise, you can mail me whenever you are interested. So I think nobody is there to say anything. So, okay, so we'll close this Zoom session. Thanks a lot to all the participants. Thank you, bhai. And hope you study well. And one more announcement before I close. In just after prelims, last week of May or first week of June, we'll be starting test series for philosophy and GS4 ethics for those students who have appeared in prelims this year. That is, who are probable candidates for mains this year, and that also will be totally free of cost. So that also I am going to do for philosophy and GS ethics, GS4 ethics. Free test series will be starting after just after prelims. So you can tell your other friends also if they are interested, they can join, and they can join the Zoom sessions also, and Telegram, WhatsApp groups also if they are interested. So with this, I close. Thank you everybody for participating. Thank you.